Beatles store. Beatles
Started. Ano na sila? Saan?
Iba yan. Up. Sightseeing yan.
Hey! Now we're going to hit it from upstairs as well. Can you hear me in that wind?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very breezy. Can you hear me downstairs? Not very reassuring. Let's just see if you're all there. What a breezy day, isn't it? Be your future. And that's true of anywhere in the world, isn't it? But Liverpool has a knack of doing it. Now the road that we're on is called Hanover Street, and it's named in honour of the previous royal dynasty, the House of Hanover. Albert Saxe-Coburg de Gotha gave his name to the dock. He was German. He married Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria's father, William IV, was German, and this is the German heritage of our royal family. But now our royal family are called Windsor. So that's where they live. That's not their name, is it? It's where they live. The House of Windsor. Okay, we're going to move on because, yeah, that kind of underpins the heritage of the musical aspect of Liverpool. But we are one of them rare British, English cities that is closer to everybody else's capital than their own. George's Hall on your left-hand side is the world's first air-conditioned building. 1850. And I don't know why they prototyped it here. We do have cold air. You're getting it today on the first day of July. We get it all the time, you know. I don't know why they thought we would need it inside the building as well. But the way they did it, with the building on your left-hand side, they created a vacuum inside the building. So it pulls air in from outside, and they push it all through a wall of water. And that conditions it. And that's what air conditioning is, isn't it, effectively? So there you go on your left-hand side, and I can see a bride on the steps and somebody getting married. Zoe downstairs, somebody's getting married today. Yeah, just as we turn this corner, just that building over there, St George's Hall, is the register office. Are you getting married in a church? At the register office? Were you getting married? Yeah, this is the road, Mount Pleasant. John Lennon was born at the very top of this road on the 9th of October 1940. Then they got married halfway up the road on our right-hand side to Cynthia Powell on the 23rd of August 1962. If I was to say that Lennon felt an obligation to be married, would anybody understand the obligation? How does a man feel obliged to be married? She fell pregnant. This is the building on your right, number 64, next to Voodoo Land. That's where Lennon got married, Zoe. That building there. That one. That used to be our register office. A rather nondescript building, isn't it? But you have to get married is a shotgun wedding. I think you know the connotations there, shotgun wedding. Part. But if you don't want to stay together forever, become a Protestant and you can get divorced. It's why we have a Protestant religion, isn't it? Our king was Henry VIII, and he had a wife called Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon, and they couldn't have a child, an heir to the throne. So he went to the Pope and said, can I get divorced? I want another wife. And he said, no, till death do you part. And he said, okay, well, we'll have our own religion then. We'll call it church. Show your bus ticket to the bartender in the Philharmonic on your right, and you can have a free glass of English fizzy wine. That's the pub. It's been voted the most ornate pub in Britain. Yeah, voted by CAMRA, the Campaign for Real Ale. Yeah, it was opened in 1898. Now this area of Liverpool is actually older than Texas. It was built in the early 1800s, all this area. The road on your left, 1820, Faulkner Street. Hello chaps, thanks for the wave, thanks for waving. On your right hand side is where all of this story about music began. This is where the Beatles all met each other on your right. It's called LIPA, which is an acronym of Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts. Paul McCartney, George Harrison, John Lennon, Stuart Sutcliffe all went to that building on your right hand side, and that's where they dreamed up about being in a band. That's where it all began. If anybody's a Beatles expert on board, you might know the name Bill Harry. And Bill Harry was the editor of a magazine called Merseybeat, and that's where it's the 5th largest cathedral in the world, and it was designed by a 22-year-old. It took 74 years to build it. And the architect of that building was a man called Giles Gilbert Scott. Does anybody know that name? When it goes, yeah, can't afford it. Recession goes. Yeah, one day we won't have a recession. Like we're in a perma recession. But the religions everywhere. That's a Roman Catholic community centre on your right. You'll see a Welsh Presbyterian church on your right. You're all falling down. Nobody going. And the area to your left-hand side is where John Lennon did his first ever performance. I'm going to tell you about John today, John Lennon. I suspect he's the most famous person that came from this city. Lennon. Well, I don't know, but, you know, footballers, actors, entertainers, comedians, you name it. There are only 500,000 people in Liverpool. But everybody knows it, don't you? Everybody knows Liverpool. 500,000 people. And the point I was going to make, Lennon did his first gig at the age of 16 on the 17th of June 1957. 66 years ago last month. But just 24 years after his first ever gig, he was no longer on the planet. There's a man called Mark Chapman murdered him, didn't he, in New York on the 8th of December 1980 and 9th of December in Britain. But if you look to your right, that's where Ringo Starr was born. And there's a reason we've stopped. You might see a mural of him on the right-hand side. Can you see down the road there? Can you see Ringo Starr halfway down on the right?
There.
Well, that's where he was born.
Okay.
That's where Ringo originates from. That's the same road where Jerry and Freddie Marsden lived. And if you don't know them, well, we're on a musical tour. Jerry and the Pacemakers are the first British group to have 3 number ones with their first 3 singles. They had How Do You Do What You Do To Me? And then they had I Like It, I Like It. And then the famous football song, You'll Never Walk Alone. And they all went to number 1. Ringo sang on Sergeant Pepper. Here we go.
John.
So what we'll do, guys, if you'd like to get a photograph by the street sign, we're going to park the bus safely and set you all down. Okay, well, if you'd like to jump off the bus and get a photograph, just be careful of the...
Hindi na siguro. Hindi na siguro. Tara. May ano, The Beatles. Ayun o.
And this is where the reference points begin. If you look to your left-hand side, you'll see a Barber's where that white van is on your left-hand side. Next to the off-licence is the famous Barbers of Penny Lane, Tony Sladen. Taking a photograph of every head is a pleasure to know. That on your left-hand side now is a roundabout where a pitchy nurse sells poppies from a tray. Again on your left-hand side, on the corner is a banker with a motor car. That's the bank on your left. I next time went to see them at the Cavern. He said, I'd like to be a manager, but you're going to have to get changed. You can't, it might be okay wearing leather pants and leather jackets in the brothels of Hamburg, but it won't cut in Britain. You'll have to put a suit on. So they went into that Bernardo's when it was Albert Merrian's photo shop, and they put the suit on and became the housewife's choice for lovable Fab Four instead of the very threatening one with leather pants and jackets. So Brian Epstein was a visionary, really. He shaped the Beatles into the band that he thought they should be. And did he get it right? No Brian Epstein, none of this. Brian Epstein had Billy J. Kramer, silly.
Strawberry Bill.
Sandal.
Strawberry field.
Field. Strawberry field.
Cut. Here we go to the
Sige. Go.
We are going to a strawberry field
Yung Sandal na mula yung strawberry field na kanta.
ng Beatles. Kaya sila gumawa ng lyrics dahil sa pamimitas ng strawberry.
Talaga ba?
Yan ang lyrics. Kanina yung Penelin.
Kaya pala isa't kalahating oras to.
Takes time.
Dahil may mga pagbaba. At ano nga ba? Binayaran natin sa City Tour plus Beatles is 18 pounds. 19 pounds.
19.
Ayan, basta. Kasama talaga natin yung aso. Sa ano? Kasama pala.
Kasama nga sila.
Yung aso. Dahil kasama natin yung aso. So very cute.
Sabi na, strawberry.
Okay. Ano lang siya? Hindi ka pwedeng pumasok.
Gate lang. Tapos picture lang.
Hindi ko na
Kasi may
kailangan
bayad.
picture. Wala namang makikita.
Makikita doon. So,
Well,
ito yung loob na
Oh, guys, chaps.
We don't have time.
We don't go in the building, we're only here. Yeah, we have a look at the memorial plaques, but that's a different tour in that building. It's a John Lennon exhibition in there.
okay.
Yeah, with a bus.
3 tours here. Criteria. You have to be 100 years old and still alive, or dead for 20 years. Paul McCartney's 81. He's getting one in the next 20 years. 19 years. Gonna get one anyway. So we'll just wait for the people to come out to what is the museum and get in the van. If they don't, we'll have to drive by very slowly. But this is where they have their first ideas for songs. The 2 songs I know written in this house are Please Please Me and I Call Your Name. And then it becomes debatable about whether the song began its life here or they started the song in Paul's house and they finished it here. But he left at the age of 22. They'd written, I Want to Hold Your Hand, From Me to You, Love Me Do. You know, I saw her standing there. And the majority of the songs that they wrote in this house, well, the 2 of them, and the other songs that they worked on were in that porch by the front door. So these guys have just done a tour with the National Trust, because we own this premises. National Trust, you know, National Treasures. These names that they get, hello chaps, this chap's an overnight custodian. And it was Colin Hall for years. Colin Hall's moved on, I think. Tourists, or the tourist attractions to go down there. So we're going to park at the end of the road and give you an inclination of how far music can take you. Because Paul McCartney left the house, he lived in here on the left-hand side at the age of 21. And he'd lived there from the age of 13. By the time he left, he'd written 40 songs that made it to vinyl. One of them was called She Loves You, and it sold over 6 million copies. You could retire on that, and he was only just short of his 22nd birthday. So this is the road to your left. We're going to show the guys at the front and then the guys at the back. Halfway down, on the right, you will see there are solar panels on the roof, and actually you can see people congregated outside the house. You guys at the back will see it again in a moment. Do you remember we were outside Lennon's house a moment or 2 ago and the National Trust were there with that white van? They've come here now. They're the only people allowed down that road on your left-hand side. I'll help you guys upstairs as well. Can you see there were solar panels on that roof? And then further over there's a red roof second to the end. Well, it's just this side of that red roof. It's where those people are on the pavement. Yeah, you're okay with that branch there, guys, getting whacked and all that kind of thing. Yeah, that's called the hip factory where those people are on the pavement. And they're the only people allowed down there. They have a pre-arranged appointment with the National Trust. Yeah, the most prestigious residential address in music. No other house can boast 40 songs. And guys, for the younger people on board, you know, if you want to understand the magnitude of this story, he'd left that house by the age of 21 and had a 6 million seller. It's not their biggest song, but 40 songs that made it to vinyl lifts it above any other residential property you can find. No other house has that much material. Okay, so I'm sorry I can't take you down it. Okay, so now you're taking the river in. Of all the things that Liverpool has been and is now and can never be, we are the first transatlantic city of the world. People came here from all over Europe. The Spanish, the French, the Portuguese, all going down that river to populate the New World. America, Canada, Australia, South Africa, South America. And to a man, woman and child, 9 million people migrated down this river. 9 million of them, which was a huge chunk of the world's population back then. People going down that river and hardly any of them ever came back. It was a one-way thing really from that. That's why we have so many songs, if you like my opinion, songs about leaving. It's not the leaving of Liverpool, it's all about going. Diamonds. Now we saw his final ever performance, didn't we, last weekend? And when I saw Paul McCartney on the gantry, I thought they were going to do Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but they didn't. A bit disappointed.